So extraordinary place to be. You know, at 7 o'clock in the morning, we were heading out to the ship to prepare to get underway. The tugboats were beginning to show up. The view is literally what you see there. It was absolutely stunning. Just a gorgeous place. Very warm that day, of course. And we're going to show some of the video as we go through. The ship was about 1,000 yards away from the dock, so we took a boat out to it every morning. This is our pilot, Tom Miller, an extraordinarily good ship handler, and talking about the movement of the ship. You can see the mud being kicked up by the tugboats. And this is that path I'm going to go back just a little bit. This is that path from where we were coming down towards the bridge and then slipping her sideways using the current. We were on the rise of the tide, and all of these red marks are places you don't want to be. So we had this very narrow window of location where we could take the ship and stay away from the mud. We may have in fact been dragging in the mud ever so slightly, but we had 16,000 horsepower tugboats with us to move things along, and you can see that mud being kicked up as the ship moved down. I remember being, well, it was exciting for us. Certainly I was on the top of the ship, and I'll show you where, but we had some tense moments here as we broke free, and I'll show you a little bit of that. So there's the pilots planning the move, and you can see as they slip it sideways and bring it down to the side. I'm going to show you, I believe, there's Towmaster Bruce. This is the location where it was the most dangerous during the breakaway. This is the former USS Cimarron. It's an oiler, and these ships are all tied together with big steel cables, and one of them would not come loose. It was trapped in such a way that it was under tremendous tension, and the tugboats are trying to keep the ship up against the Cimarron while they freed it. There's a lot of yelling and screaming and a lot of concern because cable under tension can literally break and kill somebody. In fact, it can be a horrible situation. And we had someone sticking their head out of this location up here on the Cimarron. Everybody was yelling at him to stay back as they were trying to free the cable. So it was very tense for probably 3 or 4 minutes. It was a potentially deadly situation, in fact. It's just part of the risk of being at sea, I guess, but an intense moment during the tow, in fact, the most intense. Then as we moved, you can see, moved away, you can see the blocks that kept us away. There's a power tug over here on the starboard side. And this is the path. We had a 2-day tow. We left Suisun Bay just into Benicia because we knew that would take most of the day to accomplish and do it safely. So here we are, we're starting to cant, there I am, cant over to the left here, taking the ship over next to the bridge, which is very difficult to do, and then line it up and have that bridge raised for the railroad bridge. So this is an extraordinary moment for all of us. We were at the very top end of the ship and literally talking in a normal tone of voice with the people that were on the bridge from the bridge company. Just an amazing day. And of course, as we brought through the bridge, we decided to spin her. Now, there had been a lot of debate about whether we should spin her before the bridge or after the bridge. It was a very tense discussion in previous weeks, but as it turns out, it was done after the bridge. So we in fact, here we are up there. There's one of those is me. We're all observing along with the port pilots. We spun the ship and then tied her up at the Benicia car dock. And that's where we stayed for the first night. So that first night at the Benicia car dock was not a terribly pleasant evening. Of course, the ship was completely dark. We had porta potties on board. I don't recall our food situation. It wasn't very good. We had some water, of course, and things like that. But the inside of the ship was incredibly hot, very humid up there in the Delta, and a very oppressive atmosphere inside. She hadn't been opened up at all, hardly, for the last 20 years. And so it was not a very comfortable night. I don't think any of us slept more than a couple of hours. In addition to which, we heard this banging down below. As she settled in, she started to move, and the hulls actually shift shape a little bit, and they move some. Most people think of it as a big monolithic structure, but it really isn't. It tends to creak and twist a little bit, and she was banging around. It was as if somebody down below was hitting the side of the ship with a sledgehammer. So it was an extraordinary night with not much sleep from an exhausted crew with a ton of excitement about the fact that we now had a battleship. So the second day tow was a little bit less remarkable. It had a little bit less risk. As I recall, there were 2 tugboats with us overnight at the Benicia car dock because we didn't have confidence in our mooring lines, and we needed to have an emergency tow there just in case we had a problem. But we got up in the morning. Once again, I don't remember food too much. I think somebody made a few eggs for us, and we swallowed a few things very quickly, and most of us made our way to the 011 just to be able to watch. And then after that, it was a very easy, straightforward tow. We even got up to almost 7 knots, showing you some of the video here of the second day. Very quick tow. As we passed the California Maritime Academy, the Golden Bear over here on the right gave a salute to us on their horn underneath several bridges, fairly quick and fairly straightforward again.
How long did it take to get from Richmond to the dock?
I don't remember. I want to say 4 hours or so, 4 to 6 hours. It wasn't a full day. There's Dave, incredible ship handlers. You can see all the way around the point into the inner harbor at Richmond. And then we pulled up to the dock, which would be our home for the next 7 months or so until Memorial Day weekend on the 75th anniversary of the Golden Gate. And there's the tugboat leaving. So that was our home. That's us receiving the ship. The weekend was kind of a blur. Many people, supporters, came down to share in the excitement and the joy of having a battleship after years of hard work. It was really amazing. There were several barbecues. I don't remember too much. Once again, very much a blur for us. We were exhausted. And then most everybody left on Sunday night. In fact, everybody did except for Jonathan and I. And he and I woke up on Monday morning alone on a battleship in the dark and thought, wow, now we have a battleship. Now what? We had no vendors. We had very little money. No accounts with anybody. We didn't have any volunteers that were there that day. In fact, for the first couple of days, it was quite a blur for us. But within a couple, almost midweek, we had our first volunteer, Russ Farnell, wonderful man. Thank you, Russ. And then Sue showed up, and then she started to beat the drum to get some help down there, and then the rest, as we say, is history.